you. Next up, Starfield will release. Could easily have been topic of the show. Starfield will release. Release date looks like it will be in 2022, and it will reportedly be a PC/Xbox exclusive. This one was written by Jeff. Well, it wasn't written by. Sorry, this one was tweeted out by Jeff Grubb and said Starfield is exclusive to Xbox and PC. Period. This is me confirming that. So,
little bit misleading. Jeff Grubb can't confirm that, right? Like, he's an industry insider and he's quite reliable in what he says. But he's like, yeah, like
well,
it's still a rumor.
He can confirm what he's been told, which that's him.
But it is still a rumor.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I'm pretty sure this came up with him where he's like, this is him confirming it as a journalist and not for Xbox. He made that distinction as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
What do we think? Like, we've all sat on this podcast and definitely discussed Bethesda at length. Me and Kresh covered the big news when it came out, and obviously the conversation back then would have been, will the games be exclusive? We then had the Xbox Bethesda sit down, and there was, legacies and all this stuff. I personally thought this was not going to be the case. I thought they were going to charge PlayStation fans $70 and let Xbox players just get it through Game Pass, and that's how they were going to cover their $7.5 billion. And I was wrong. I'm very happy to admit when I'm wrong, and I'm happy that I was wrong as well. By the way, like, this is a big win for Xbox fans, right?
Yeah, I think once we got Xbox's profits and how much money they made, it was very apparent that they were going to go exclusive with a lot of their games. I think at that point was because Xbox isn't like hurting to make some money on the side. Xbox isn't hurting to cover that bill. That bill's probably already been covered by at this point, and they're looking to invest in other things. I'm glad this is the case, to be honest. We talked about, like, does Microsoft need to play dirty and all these things. I think this is the case of, like, some people view this as playing dirty. I'm like, nope, for me, this makes absolute sense. I'm really glad this is the case. Very unconventional way to get the news, though.
Yeah, it is weird to get it through journalists of not that again, we get a load of stuff through Jason Schreier, of course, Jeff Grubb, again, he's doing his job. At the end of the day, he's not that he has to confirm this, but he has, and that's his decision to do that. I'm a little bit disappointed because the pop would have been humongous at E3. Imagine the three of us live on my Xbox and me talking about it, and that moment of xCloud exclusive on Xbox, and then all three of us are like, now I think it takes away from that a little bit, but in the same breath, it's still a dope thing. It's a dope thing if the game's good, by the way. It's a dope thing, period. We just hope the game is good.
Yeah. I think it's important to point out as well, like, Jason Schreier was also tweeting out about this a little bit, and I think that was off the back of somebody saying that Starfield was basically done, has been since last September, and that they're just really polishing it so not to fall into the same trap as Fallout 76. And then Jason Schreier came out and said, that's not true. The game's going to come out late 2022, and it's not done. So there's still stuff up in the air about this, right? I think, we're going to do an E3 predictions episode, so I don't want to get too far into it. I think we see a lot of gameplay of Starfield, hopefully, this year at E3. And off the back of that, it'll be interesting to see what people think of this game. Because we really don't know what it is, right? We're connecting dots, right? We know it's called Starfield, it's set in space, and it's made by Bethesda. And so people have this idea of what this game is going to be, but we could be totally wrong, right?
We could be. I highly doubt we are.
Yeah, me too. But
I think just on the same gameplay front, I think people forget, like, we've seen nothing but a title card for this game.
Yeah,
like, exactly. Officially, we haven't gotten anything. So I don't think we see gameplay, if I'm being honest.
Oh, no, we definitely see gameplay.
I think we see some sort of trailer for it. I don't think we see gameplay. We can discuss it later on.
But in the same breath, do you remember when we got gameplay for... what was it we got gameplay for? Assassin's Creed? Technically, at that Xbox games conference thing,
where it wasn't really
gameplay, but it wasn't really what we was expecting gameplay. So I think we will get gameplay. Might not be what we're thinking in terms of, like, here's the hub and here's this and here's that, but we're gonna get gameplay, guaranteed, in their eyes.
I think it'll just be interesting. I think the thing that I'm most interested in seeing is the tone of the game. Is it tongue-in-cheek humor like Fallout? Is it very serious, like a Mass Effect style thing? Like, what are they going for with this? I don't know. I think it'll probably be more Fallout tone-wise. But it'll be interesting to see that aspect of it, because Fallout does have a very unique tone that people love, I think. And so I would like this to be something unique, not like a carbon copy of what Fallout is. And so that's what gets me excited.
Let's move on to some more Starfield news, which is Starfield rumor claims Tom Cruise is starring in Bethesda's new game. This one is written from Games Radar by, is it Hiron? Shout out. A new Starfield rumor claims none other than Hollywood powerhouse Tom Cruise is starring in the game. Earlier today, on May 18th, a pretty perplexing rumor started doing the rounds over on gaming leaks and Reddit subreddit rumors, buried within a compilation of previous Starfield rumors, was a claim that Hollywood star Tom Cruise was starring in the upcoming space firing game from Bethesda. In short, the claim comes from three self-professed Starfield insiders, each of which claims that Bethesda has recruited Tom Cruise for their new game. Additionally, the insiders point out to the 2018 tweet from Bethesda's Game Studios Twitter account just below, as hinted that the actor actually has signed on in the game. And the tweet read like this, which was Bethesda Game Studios Twitter: "Hey, at Tom Cruise, huge fans. Would love to loved your take on Oblivion and now Fallout. Want to get a head start on our next thing. Hashtag call me." Does this matter? Do we care? Is the truth.
I believe it.
Yeah, I believe it too.
I think this probably happened a long time after 2018. I think probably didn't have anything to do with this tweet. I think it probably had something to do with Cyberpunk and Keanu Reeves and that becoming a thing, right? Like, that was a big deal for both Keanu Reeves and the game. Like, people were talking about him in a different space. And so it's easy for Tom Cruise's management to see that and Tom Cruise to see that and go, oh, this is legit. Tom Cruise apparently tweeting about Oblivion and Fallout maybe, and so there's a connection there already, and then him saying, yeah, I'm in for this, and it's middle of a pandemic, although Tom Cruise has actually been quite busy during the pandemic, but for him to jump into a VO booth and do a thing, and yeah, that's what I would imagine this is, right? And
do you think it's just VO? Do you not think it will be like a full, you don't think it will be like a full Tom Cruise is the star of this game?
Like I say, I think he's been one of the few actors who's been very busy in the pandemic, right? They've still been shooting a lot with Tom Cruise, and he's kind of been the what's the word I'm looking for? Not poster boy, but like he's been the one pushing Hollywood forward of new ways to shoot in the pandemic, right? And been quite vocal about that. And there was that viral thing of him screaming at a load of crew, right? Because they weren't adhering to the new pandemic rules. And so, yeah, like he's been very active during the pandemic and busy. So yeah, it would surprise me if he's like a really big character in this. I think him being a voice or something is probably more reasonable. I don't think we'll see him on like an E3 stage like we did Keanu Reeves and stuff like that.
I hope not. I think,
but I believe
that's the one thing I couldn't give two craps if Tom Cruise is in this game. Number one, number two, yeah, I really hope they don't double down on it like they did with Keanu Reeves. It worked with him, and I think it felt legit. Your breathtaking moment was legit. It was what's the word I'm looking for? Organic. Authentic. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. He seemed happy to be there. And unfortunately, we've watched plenty of E3s. I was at the EA Play with Jose Mourinho there, and it's just like, yep, you didn't want to be here, but you got to pay this shed ton of money, so you're here. And I just don't want... We've seen, obviously, The Rock do it for Xbox before, and Pele, and all these other superstars, absolute megastars, come out, and they're just long and drawn out and boring and just not interesting. Like, we've only had one of those work in a game that, unfortunately, turned out to be not very good in all. Like, it was a broken mess. So yeah, I hope they just go, yeah, Tom Cruise in the game, and there's a VO line from him, and that's it. Like that's all it needs to be. I don't need more than that, personally. What about you, Crash?
I agree with you. Unfortunately, I don't think that'll be the case.
Agree.
I don't think you go out of your way to get Tom Cruise and you're like, yeah, you'll play the side character that we see for one quest. The only way that happens is if they don't advertise it at all and it's sort of an Easter egg.
Yep.
I think that's the only way that happens. If he's any way sort of like they want to say Tom Cruise is in our game, I think he's going to play a major role, whether it be sort of like the end game villain or character or whatever it is. And you don't really spend too much time with them, so he doesn't have to dedicate a lot of VO, but he is there and he's a presence.
Spacey.
That could be the case.
When they had Spacey and Spacey was in COD, which obviously we know Spacey now is a scumbag. But yeah, like, just have to add that in. Hey, the truth's the truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's like he done his work and then got out of there, right? You didn't see him on stage, did we? I don't think so. He was just in the game.
No.
Right?
It was just in the game,
I agree with you though, Crash, more than Matt, unfortunately, which is like you don't spend Tom Cruise money to have him just be there for a voice line, right? Like this, unless it's just a cameo. Which again, I don't think this gets picked up if it's just a cameo.
Well, I think 100% it gets picked up. Like, look, Bethesda aren't the ones coming out here and saying Tom Cruise is in our game. This is a rumor that websites are reporting on because SEO. Tom Cruise plus Xbox, Tom Cruise plus Bethesda in a headline works, right? And Starfield, whatever. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I think if it's small, Bethesda don't push this, and it's a nice little Easter egg. I do wonder how, like, Bethesda games are tongue-in-cheek, right? We're just talking about tone. I think you have to kind of make this a bit ridiculous if he's in it. And therefore, I don't know if they do it, right? Like, I think either Tom Cruise plays a robot with the personality of Tom Cruise. Like, I think you play it really tongue-in-cheek if you're going to do it. And like, and so, and I don't know if Tom Cruise would be up for that. I don't know if Tom Cruise is the sort of person to do that, or if he wants it to be more serious, right? Like,
do we know anything about Tom Cruise? Like, do we actually know anything about Tom Cruise? I know he's a very good actor and does his own stunts, if I'm not mistaken. That's all I know about Tom Cruise.
Breaks his own leg and flies his own helicopters and stuff, yeah.
Like, that's all I know about
Do you want a little Tom Cruise fun fact?
Sure, why the heck not?
There is a bakery supposedly in London that basically exclusively makes cakes for Tom Cruise, and he sends like an insane amount of Christmas cakes out to people and outlets and journalists that he's friends with. And what's the name of the brand? They're under the company that I work for, and they get a cake every year from Tom Cruise. Cinema Blend, that's it. They're on the Tom Cruise Christmas cake list. There's a little Tom Cruise fun fact for you.
What?
You were saying you don't know nothing about Tom Cruise.
I'm gonna be honest. I think we have to start reporting more on Tom Cruise news, even if it's not Xbox related.
I'll give you a fun Tom Cruise fact every week.
My Tom Cruise and me. Sounds